Good evening, everyone. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today for the Christmas Markets Cruise, which is a fantastic river cruise down some of the most iconic markets throughout Europe. With me, who is actually an expert at it, is Richard from Amar Waterways, and my name is Zygmunt from rivercruisecenter.com. And Richard will now take over and begin telling you about this fantastic river cruising while seeing the beautiful Christmas markets. Go ahead, Richard.
Zygmunt, thank you so much for that presentation. Happy to be back once again, and I believe our sixth in a series of 9 that we've been presenting. So hopefully you, those that are joining us today, have had a chance to listen to some of the other presentations. But if not, note all these have been recorded. Zygmunt has these up on his site. So if you have any trouble accessing some of the ones that we've done previously, we've done the Rhine, we've done the Moselle, we've done a celebration of wine theme amongst a number of others, please reach out to him and he can point you in the right direction. But I'd like to also just, again, thank you, Zygmunt, for this opportunity to speak with some of your valued guests. And thank you all once again for joining us. We know there's a lot of other things you could be doing. The real intent behind these presentations all along has been to really just keep these informative, keep these educational, keep them inspirational, and let you know that it's still okay to dream of travel. So while we don't know exactly when we'll be able to return to the rivers in full, we know that it's okay to start planning and putting some things on the list that we can hopefully do sometime very soon. So without further ado, I'm going to start walking through this presentation. And I thought I'd share this really beautiful picture of the Ama Viola with some snow that we've got right here in the foreground, because it really just captures winter perfectly, I think. And the Christmas markets in general, we're going to just be covering those things that really make it magical and iconic. And I'll mention that everything that we do with the Christmas market is in addition to what we would offer on any normal river cruise sailing with Ama Waterways. So we're never taking away anything from things that we would offer on a normal sailing. This is all additional added benefits and features that we're including. So I thought this picture captured it perfectly. The one thing missing here, and I think Zygmunt can attest because I believe he's taken one of our cruises, is that the ship is not decorated yet. So one thing that's really nice about any Ama Waterways cruise during the holidays is that we decorate the outside of our ships. And that's something that you'll come to notice when you're in port and you're sailing with us, as you've maybe been out in town walking around, as you're coming back in the evening to board your ship. It's pretty easy to pick out the ship that you're on because of all the river cruise ships out there, and there's quite a few. The Ama Waterways vessels will be the only ones that are decorated. So it'll be really easy to spot your ship. It may be a little hard to see, but if you get a close look, kind of just up above where it says Ama Viola, looking into that glass window, you can see a Christmas tree there in the room. It's really going to feel Christmassy when you make your way on board. Not to spend too much time on the slide, but just one quick note on river cruising in general. If maybe you've done an ocean cruise or maybe you've never river cruised before, this is quite different. It's an experience all into itself. It's intimate experience. It's your luxury floating hotel. You're on calm waters. There's no seasickness that you have to worry about. Land on either side of you the entire time that you're traveling. And again, some great amenities and features that we have on board. We pull up right into the middle of these towns that we're stopping at. In some instances, literally, we step right off the ship onto these cobblestone streets. So it's just a really, really magical experience. I wanted to share this picture here and start with this because I think it's right that we start with a picture of Dresden, Germany. This is, after all, where they held the very first Christmas market, the earliest Christmas market actually dating back to 1434. So an amazing town to visit, but it really just gives you an idea of just how you're going to be on sensory overload, how magical it is, all the lights that are all around you. There's music that's playing at this time. There's the smells in the air of all the food that's being cooked, that all the regional cuisines, from the hot sausage links, there's the glühwein that they're making. There's just this festive atmosphere in the air. So it's really, really a special time to travel. So this again is just one example. We'll talk about a number of things, but I also want to include some of those just normal moments. Obviously we're going to be stopping at a number of different Christmas markets. You'll have the choice of a lot of different places to experience. Most of these towns have more than one Christmas market. There's normally, one or two grand marketplaces, but you're going to find a number of other little locations that you can visit as well. So, two rivers that we operate our Christmas markets on. The Danube River is going to be one. So this is going to be a bit of a slideshow. I'm not going to go through every, stop that we make along the way, but I really just want to highlight some of those special moments in towns that we stop at. Budapest, of course, is one of those places. So many lights that you're going to see. Here, they normally start the Christmas markets about November 8th. This happens to be St. Stephens Cathedral that we're looking at right here. And one story that I like to share actually comes from our owners, Rudy and Christine. And it's actually shared by Rudy when he talks about one of the days that they were in Budapest, where they were going to be overnighting. It was very late. There was a Christmas mass that was going to be starting. They heard the church bells ring. So as a last minute effort, they made their way over, kind of pushed their way through the crowd, and were able to make their way into St. Stephens Cathedral here, listen to the mass, receive communion. And again, it was just one of those moments that you can't really recreate these any of the time. You have to just kind of be a part of that period in time. And those are some of the things that you may be able to enjoy also. But I thought that was a really special memory that he shared. And then here's a look inside St. Stephens Cathedral. You can just see how ornate and elaborate and detailed this church is. So again, aside from the Christmas markets, you'll have a chance to step into some centuries old cathedrals and walk over these cobblestone streets and visit, walk down the streets where there's these 16th, 17th century half timber homes. So really an amazing time. As we make our way up the Danube River,
before we leave Budapest, just wanted to mention that when you're in the Christmas market, you're not only going to be seeing all kinds of little gifts and trinkets and all kinds of unusual things that people make, but also some great food. For example, in Budapest, the famous, they had chimney cake, then mulled wine, the strudel and the grilled sausages are absolutely fantastic, stuffed cabbage, and probably the best, because it's cold, usually during Christmas markets, the goulash soup, warm goulash soup with warm wine. That is a favorite over there.
That is great. Thanks so much for inserting that too. I mean, there's so many things to talk about also. So I always appreciate that Zygmunt can add some other things to this also. But we'll be looking at some nice pictures of the Christmas markets and what some of the things are that they're selling. But keep that in mind. There will be some things along the way of all the Christmas markets that are going to be very similar, but there will definitely be some things that are local to those cities that you're in from those local artisans. So kind of be on the lookout for those things, because once you leave those things, if you saw something that was really special and unique, there's a good chance you may not be able to pick it up at another location. Zygmunt also mentioned the goulash, which of course is important to note, because every stop along the way, if we're talking about the onboard experience also, along with these stops that we're making, we're going to include regional cuisines wherever we can. So, when you're in Budapest, you will find goulash on the menu on board. When we're in Vienna, you'll find Wiener Schnitzel on the menu. But we're also going to include some other things that you may want to enjoy if you don't want to have those things. So we'll still have that steak you can go to. We'll still have that Caesar salad you can go to. So that was a really good note that Zygmunt just brought up. Vienna, of course.
And one other I forgot to mention is that, of course, Budapest is known for its baths, famous baths throughout Europe, throughout Budapest. And one of the best ones is the Gellert bath. So when you're in Budapest, make sure you visit some of the natural baths that come out from under the ground. And also that Buda and Pest, there used to be two cities, and they merged one time, declared peace, and now they're Budapest. The other one thing you should do is check out the Faust wine cellar, which is under the Buda Castle. If you're a wine person, that is a great place to go and take a look at one of the oldest wine cellars in Europe.
Great tip, great tip. Yeah, and Zygmunt is full of these tips. If you haven't gathered that already from some other presentations, so please reach out to him. He's a wealth of knowledge. Vienna, of course, another very, very special stop right here. This is in front of the town hall, the city hall here. This amazing, really big Christmas market, tons of stalls that you'll see here. Vienna itself probably has, I would say, a minimum 25 to 30, even up to 35 or more Christmas markets throughout the town. This is one of those large cities similar to Budapest where we're going to spend a large amount of time here. We'll then push, or another highlight here too, and I think you may actually be familiar with Schönbrunn Palace also. Maybe you want to share a word on this as well, Zygmunt?
Well, the palace was actually a Habsburg castle. So it was given by King Emperor Leopold to his, I think it was his niece or son. I can't remember exactly which one. But it was originally an imperial hunting lodge. And then Crown Prince Joseph, who received it later, became Emperor Joseph I. And he built this beautiful giant palace. And one thing you'll notice in Vienna, everything is giant. You walk through the Vienna streets and the buildings, the houses, the monuments, it's all so huge. Then you go afterwards to some little cute town that's such a big difference. And Vienna is a fantastic town. Make sure you see where the horses were, Lipizzaner horses. Because when I was there, for example, in Christmas markets, they were walking around and you could go in right into their barns, which are right on the main street, actually. But that's probably it. Oh, you also want to see probably the Hofburg Palace, which is a huge palace over there. And that was built in the 13th century. And now it's the Austrian president stays there. That's about it for now.
That's great.
Chocolate. And chocolates and say waffles and some fantastic. If you're in Vienna, you have got to stop at a place that serves coffees and all kinds of chocolates. I stopped, I think, at about 20 of them before they finally told me never to go into another one. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Very good. So as you can tell, lots to do in every town along the way. You're not going to run out of special things to do. Next on the list, we're going to pull into a small town called Linz. And from Linz, you'll have an opportunity to go to a town in Hungary called the Český Krumlov, or you can make your way over into Austria on the other side of the river into Salzburg. And both are wonderful towns. I would probably opt for Salzburg. That would probably be my suggestion. This right here is actually one of the oldest, actually the oldest Christmas market in Salzburg. It dates back to 1491. And just a small note on here, this actually happens to be the birthplace of one of the most, if not the most famous Christmas song of all time, called Silent Night, Holy Night. This is actually written or composed back in 1818 by Franz Xaver Gruber. So just a little Christmas history there as well too, but beautiful town square that we get to meander through, and you're going to have some free time also. Take some time to explore, check out some of the local restaurants, the shops, and just go to see what some of the locals are doing. And even on that note, the Christmas markets, what really makes them special, I think, is that this is something that goes back centuries. This wasn't for tourism. This was for the locals. This was to go out and buy some Christmas gifts, grab a sweater, and meet with some of the townsfolk in the area. It was not set up for the tourist market. So we're essentially kind of being, invited in to join in what the locals are actually doing. So I think that really makes it special also. Next stop along the way is the town of Passau, and a small little town, one of those examples where there's not so much to see that we're going to spend a full day here, but certainly worth the visit. A beautiful little town, quaint little town. I just love, once again, some of the snow that's fallen on the ground, and hopefully we'll get some snow, but hopefully we'll get just the right amount of sunlight, which I think this picture really captures, so it's not too cold the entire time. One unique thing about this town is that they actually have the, Zygmunt corrected me another time, but he can chime in here also, the second largest, is it the organ, pipe organ?
Yes.
Yep. Why don't you finish that?
It's the second largest organ right now in the world. It used to be the first until an organ, the church in Los Angeles, the First Congregational Church in LA, in 1994, built a larger organ. The organ in Passau it's medieval. It has 17,774 pipes and 233 registers. Now, I don't know what that means, but that means it's the second largest, basically. And Passau is such a beautiful little town. It has 3 rivers surrounding it, and some very, very cute places to eat, plus cute alleys to go through, from one side of the river to the other side of the river. And this used to be a Roman colony in the 3rd century. Later on, Passau became known for building or forging swords. So it was very known for its sword production, and they had a picture of a wolf on the sword. And everybody in Europe that was fighting wanted it because they felt it gave them power, that picture of the wolf. Okay.
That's right. It's a great little history lessons. And that's the other thing along the way too, you know, with the river cruise and in particular with AMA waterways, you know, every part of the transportation that you receive, whether it's being transferred to, you know, from your hotel, if you join us for a pre-cruise, to the ship, whether it's, you know, from the ship to join your shore excursion, certainly when you're on board the ship or when you're on that shore excursion, you're going to have expert guides with you along the way. So they're storytelling, they're giving you some history, some culture, like Zygmunt is doing right now. So it's educational throughout the entire time. You're never going to feel like you're missing out on anything or not learning about the area that you're visiting. We then make our next stop in the town of Vilshofen as we make our way up the Danube River. And this is a really cute little town. One thing that we actually do for our guests, and although it wasn't originating here in Vilshofen, we include an Oktoberfest. So we set up this large tent for all of our guests, and you know, bottom line, it's a place for everyone to mingle, get to know one another. Our cruise manager comes out dressed in his lederhosen, and he gets the party going. There's Oompa music playing. There's local German beers that are being served, and some Wiener Schnitzel, and it's just a really fun experience and a great time to meet some of the, you know, mingle with some of the other guests if you haven't had a chance yet to connect with some of them. And then as we make our way out from there, another opportunity would be to stop in the town of Regensburg. And this would be en route if you're doing one of our pre or post packages, where we would stop in Regensburg. There's actually an opportunity to join one of the Christmas markets there. But we'd be making our way all the way over to Prague. But this is a great little stop along the way, and it's one of those sort of a bit off the beaten path. If you're comparing it to some of the larger places that we've been making stops at, there's about 3 Christmas markets in Regensburg, and one thing that's unique to them is that they actually charge for the guests to go in here. Now, AMA Waterways, of course, is picking up those expenses for our guests, but it's nice because it makes it even a bit more intimate. So it doesn't feel overcrowded like some of the other markets that we might be enjoying on this trip too. And I just think that makes this one really, really special.
And you know, Regensburg is a very, very old town. It's a UNESCO site. It was originally a part of the Roman fort in the 90 AD. And the Christmas markets are really great because there are several of them inside a castle like this and outside of the castle. So you walk up into it, and there are people, especially if it's going to be cold, people will have fires going up and their goods and their wares all around the fires. It's a very, very romantic area and very historic area.
Well put, well put. Absolutely. It really helps to paint that picture a bit better. Nuremberg, of course, is another stop along the way. And I think we might be getting some photos that you shared with us here, Zygmunt.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, this is a Christmas market at Nuremberg. And this is just a part of it. You couldn't shoot the whole thing because it was so huge. And Nuremberg is surrounded by an old medieval wall. And you walk in these Christmas markets and all kinds of people, all kinds of food. And I think the next shot will show, go ahead, Richard, you can move it.
Yeah, let's get to that next frame. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Okay. Now, so besides just having all kinds of little goodies you can buy, and trinkets and gifts, some really unique and delicious food. These hot dogs are a little bit longer than what we're used to, but you have this hot dog with hot glue wine, and you can experience all kinds of varieties of foods there. So make sure you try all the different foods in the stalls, chocolates, everything else, and look at these gifts, unique gifts that are being made and sold right there by local artisans in Nuremberg.
Right.
You can see. Well, I made a mistake, and I bought some of these that you see that had a date on it that I would happen to be traveling, and I never gave them away during that particular time because I liked them so much. And now I have a few of them left, but I can't give them away because they're 5 years old and have a date of 2015 on it.
It's an important little tip to keep in mind. That's great.
Right, right.
And then some of the local
Oh,
desserts here.
yes, and these are my favorite. I spend a lot of time near these booths, and there are just dozens and dozens of booths selling everything from cheeses to chocolates, and these are fantastic. And as much as you can eat it. It's great.
That's right. That's right. And then, as we have with every river cruise is typically going to be 7 nights. We do have a few that are a little bit longer, set number of days, but you're going to have an opportunity for a pre or post package. Prague, of course, another amazing town that you get to stop at as well. We have a wonderful 3-night pre or post stay there, depending on what side of the river you're starting on. Budapest, a 2 pre or post night stay. In addition to Munich, where we're offering 2 nights in Munich also. So lots and lots of different options that we create for a guest too. The other part that I'll mention with the pre and post packages, what's nice about them is that our cruise managers join our guests before and after the cruise. So they're there to make tips, give you some tips, make some recommendations and some suggestions, but really to kind of just make sure that you're taken care of. They'll be leading you on some different excursions. What's also nice is that you really get a chance to meet them and start to build that rapport before you even step on board the ship.
I have a number of clients who go on the river cruises, and they all insist on doing the pre and post, because by the time you fly here from the States, it takes you about a day to fly there and about another day to get acclimated. And then starts the cruise. You won't really have time to be yourself and acclimated to the time change. So it's always better to fly there earlier. And if you're already in Europe, why not see the beautiful city of Prague, which is just absolutely fantastic, or stay an extra day in Budapest, or Nuremberg, Nuremberg has such fantastic restaurants underground, and Nuremberg has a lot of history. That's where Hitler would meet with all his officers and all his people, stand up on this big giant steps and give all these long speeches and etc. And I walked right there where he stood, and I looked down and had a person whose father was an SS officer give us a tour, a personal tour of the area. It was just amazing. And he says that the German people are really conflicted. They feel very sad at what happened. And his grandfather was such a nice person, but yet he was an evil person at the same time. So you learn a lot about history on being in Nuremberg.
Yeah, that's right. There's so much. One, we're talking about going to the quote unquote old world. With centuries of history. Beyond what we know here in the States and in North America in general. A Christmas market on the Rhine. So this is another opportunity. So again, on the Danube and on the Rhine, these are pretty much going to be the 2 options. This one operates between Amsterdam up in Netherlands on the north end, making its way all the way down to Basel, Switzerland on the southern end. So we'll be traveling through 4 countries here, between the Netherlands, Germany, France, then of course Switzerland. So wonderful pre and post night options here as well. One thing unique about Amsterdam is that they don't have any Christmas markets, as you'll find in some other areas of Europe, along the Danube and the Rhine in particular, but they do have a Festival of Lights tour. So it's basically lights everywhere. You can see some of the lights here over the canal, the way the buildings are lit up, even the boats for the canal cruises and how they're lit up. So while there's not the Christmas markets going on, there's still plenty of other things to do. And of course, the way it's all lit up, it still feels very festive. So an amazing town, great cafes, great restaurants to go to, museums and galleries. I always share as a tip for any pre and post option, in line with what Zygmunt mentioned about getting there before to acclimate. Make some reservations to the special places you want to go. You don't want to travel this far to be disappointed that you can't get into a place. So spend some time to think about those places, check in with Zygmunt, and he can make some tips for you. We will always include a Haarlem Canal cruise for anybody that joins us for a pre-stay here in Amsterdam. Making our way then down to Cologne, very leisurely cruise down the Rhine here. We'll stop into Cologne. Fantastic. One of the best Christmas markets, I would say here. You can just look down here and see all the stalls, that beautiful golden Christmas tree right there in the center. A lot of options, a lot of great shopping for you to do, some great food. The Cologne Cathedral, I mean, just dominates the skyline right here in the back. And a little bit of history on this one. They started constructing this back in 1249 and took well over 600 years to complete. It was actually 634 years to complete. If you can just get up close to this building, not only is it absolutely immense, it is gigantic, but the detail that literally goes into every inch of construction is absolutely amazing. And then walking inside this Gothic cathedral is just something that you must do. So we actually dock no more than about 8-minute walk, maybe 10-minute walk if you're going a bit leisurely from the Cologne Cathedral. You know, Cologne is actually known for their Kolsch beer. We include a Kolsch beer tasting tour. There's a guided cycling tour if you want to do that. We also have a Holy City walking tour. So lots of things that you can do. And again, plenty of free time for you to meander around and just kind of explore on your own. We make our way then down through this area. We'll actually pass through the Rhine Gorge, which is one of my favorites. It's just about a 5-hour leisurely trip through there where the cruise manager is giving some commentary on all these amazing castles we're passing by. We'll then make our way into the wonderful town of Rudesheim. And I had to include this here because this was one of my favorite experiences in Rudesheim. It's the Rudesheimer coffee, and it's actually this German Ausbach brandy that they take and they pour from about a good 1.5 feet over the mug into these specially designed coffee mugs. They'll then add in a really dark, bold coffee with some vanilla cream and some chocolate shavings like we see here. And the taste is just, it tastes like Christmas once again, and it warms you up. We're serving this on board the ship as well too. Zygmunt, I can share this, the ingredients here and the preparation for this afterwards if you want to share it out with some of your clients also. But it's just a fun thing to do at Christmas if you get yourself a hold of some of this German Ausbach brandy.
I'm going to have to try a few of them first before I give them to my clients. I'll test about 5 to 10 glasses first.
Yeah, at minimum. There you go. If you're still standing. Heidelberg is another town that we'll stop at, then making our way further south. So we actually pull into the town of Ludwigshafen, and then you'll have an opportunity to go over to Speyer. You can spend some time there in the town. We don't have a lot to do necessarily there. Most guests will make their way over to Heidelberg, Germany. This is actually not on the Rhine River, but on the Neckar River. And if you're going to do a cycling tour, definitely do it on the Neckar River if it's the only one that you do. It's just incredibly scenic here. But again, a great picture here of the Christmas market, this wonderful little town. You have Heidelberg Castle, which is this amazing little hillside looking over the town. You take this beautiful little funicular ride up there and then kind of tour up in the area. Depending what time of year that you go, if it's kind of the middle of November, you still may catch a lot of that beautiful fall foliage color with some of the leaves still being on the trees. So just a really wonderful time, a great stop along the way. From Heidelberg, we will then continue down south on the river, and then we'll next big stop is going to be Strasbourg, and lots to share about Strasbourg. You know, just from the architect, those half timber homes that we see here dating back to 16th, 17th century. This is known as the Venice of the North, at least to the local Alsatians in the area, in the Alsatian region here. A lot of wonderful little canals, beautiful little alleyways and streets to walk around. Lots of Christmas markets here too. Outside of the Christmas market, this is just a great place to shop. So, for you ladies or even you gentlemen, if you're into shopping. Another little thing that I like to share is that they're known for their storks. Actually throughout the entire Alsatian region, it's kind of the bird of the area. And if you go on one of the guided cycling tours or do one of the walking tours, there's a beautiful little park called Orangery Park, which is acted as a protective reserve back from like the mid-1980s, I believe it is. And the birds themselves are just beautiful to see, but their nests are huge and absolutely amazing. So again, just one of those other little things that you can maybe look forward to. Another thing that I'll mention. Go ahead, Zane.
I was just going to mention the Strasbourg Cathedral. That is a fantastic cathedral. When you're walking through town and walking around the square, and then you get around the building, and all of a sudden you see this huge cathedral just jumping out from the ground. You're just amazed, absolutely, how they could have built this structure. You have to visit the cathedral.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, one of those large towns we're going to spend quite a bit of time because there's just so much to do here, and we want to give you some free time as well. Well, then in this trip, and again, I'm not giving you every last detail, I wanted to really call out some of the highlights. We'll pull into the wonderful town of Basel, Switzerland. And I love this picture because to me, it just looks like a gingerbread, story setting right here. And a lot of history here, lots to explore in Basel, Switzerland. But our post trip is actually going to be an option to go up to Lucerne and Zurich, 2 nights in each of those locations. Of course, we talked about Amsterdam, depending which direction on the river you're going, you can do 2 pre or post nights there. And then we also have an option, this is new for 2021, to go to Lake Como for 2 nights also. So that's our one and only stop into Italy. So that would be something really special to take in as well. So again, a lot of options for our guests. Those were really the main highlights that we wanted to call out. You can imagine all the things that we left out here to do, but hopefully it just, again, just inspires you enough to add this to your list. We're not certain if we're going to be able to go this year. We absolutely anticipate being able to go next year. So once again, hopefully you can add it to your list and plan for future Christmas market sailing.
Right, just one comment about Lucerne and Como. Those are probably the 2 places I would visit because Lucerne is just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. So is Lake Como. Whereas Zurich is a big town. Lucerne is has a giant lake with beautiful mountains surrounding it. And of course, you've heard a lot about Lake Como in the past. So those are the 2 things I would not miss right there.
Wonderful. Good suggestions. So once, we finished that, I wanted to share this other tip with you also. We didn't talk about this. Christine is actually, again, one of our owners, and this is one of her tips to not miss the Gengenbach market in the Black Forest area. It's this wonderful old medieval little town. This is a look right here at the town hall. And this is unique for Alma Waterways that we include this for our guests. And it's one of those unique experiences where we go a little bit later in the evening, so you get to capture it like this because this is the world's largest Advent calendar. And based on the theme each year, which changes, these windows basically operate as the little Advent window that you would open up. So each evening, there's actually a little, singing that goes on just before, and then they'll open up one new window to reveal a new image for that night too. So in addition to that, of course, you have this beautiful little market here. It's maybe a good 45-minute drive off the river into this town, but definitely going to be one of the most memorable moments that you experience. And I mentioned how you can combine some of these different experiences, or at least I think I did. But just to mention that again, New Year's Eve is another thing that you can tie in, and you can really cross some of these different experiences, meaning, we operate wonderful cruises every time of year, but in addition to that, you can have the Christmas market theme. Maybe you want to sail over Thanksgiving or over New Year's as an example. We also may have a celebration of wine themed sailing happening at the same time. So you can really merge all these different experiences. Once again, check with Zygmunt. He knows how to identify and kind of pinpoint these things, and also to ensure that you're getting the best value, the best deal, because we run a number of wonderful promotions throughout the year. I want to take you on board the ship and let you know what that's going to be like also. So when you walk on board, it's going to feel like you're stepping into Christmas. There's going to be decorated Christmas trees that we see up here to the top left. The concierge desk is going to be fully decorated as well. As you go down into the lounge area, there's actually going to be some Christmas trees. And on the first day, they're not going to be decorated because all the guests on board will have a chance to decorate it together. So that's something that we do also. We do some Christmas tree decorating. We have Christmas caroling on board that our staff is going to be doing for everybody. And of course, you can imagine everybody on board gets involved. And I can tell you it's festive and it's energetic. It's nothing boring. You're going to want to be a part of this. And just, again, all the different stops along the way. The other part that I think just makes the holiday special any time of year, no matter where you are going to be the Christmas treats that you're being served. So from the traditional, Christmas goose that we're cooking, to the stolen bread, to the Black Forest cake that we serve on board, again, to the glühwein that we're serving, those hot spicy sausage links. These are a number of things that we're going to be serving on board. That Christmas goose, we're going to be serving if you're on board at Christmas dinner, but there's a good chance we're going to be serving it some other nights too if you happen to go on a non-Christmas Day sailing with us. And just so you know, in terms of the season, it's normally about 4 Sundays before Christmas, kind of keeping in line with the Advent calendar. But there are some Christmas markets that start setting up maybe the first week of November. They're fully ready to go and operational maybe by the end of that second week. So by mid-November, they're typically ready to go. They'll very often last till just after Christmas, ending before New Year's, but there are going to be some that go just beyond New Year's also. So you really be able to carry that experience even a little bit further. I would say the most popular times, especially for the North American audience, to go and enjoy Christmas market are going to be those first 2 weeks of December. So you can go really, take advantage of that, enjoy it, but then still have some time to enjoy some of those holiday parties back home and maybe finish some of their Christmas shopping. What I just wanted to finish off right here is just to kind of give a state of the business update. One thing that's been really nice that we're really proud, I'm very happy to share, is that we happen to be the only American river cruise line that has a ship sailing in Europe right now. And it's one ship, it's the Alma Christina, and this has been chartered by a German company. So it's not for North American guests right now, but I'll share this because there's some really good things that we're learning from it. One, the guests absolutely love the experience. We've had a number of guests actually rebook a second cruise. We're operating 2 itineraries, doing a 6-day, 5-night sailing. We've been able to take all those things since COVID, came on the scene, where we've been putting things down on paper to understand how are we going to go back, what is the atmosphere going to be like on board the ship, what requirements are going to have to abide by to ensure the safety of our guests as well as our crew members. We've been able to take all those things that were on paper and in plans and put them into practice. And again, the response has been phenomenal. They love it. Everyone has been safe. There's been no cases on board the ship. As I mentioned, a lot of folks have booked a second trip. It's going to be similar to, if you had a chance to step out in a restaurant anytime recently, when you walk into the restaurant, you wear your mask, you sit down, you take off the mask, and that happens to be the majority of the time. But if you get up to use a restroom, or of course, when you're leaving, you put your mask back on. So it's that same type of experience. We've upgraded to hospital-grade disinfectants. As often as we clean our ship, which is frequent, we've increased the frequency with which we're cleaning the ship. You can see a little bit in this picture, if I point out to you anyways, that there's a plexiglass area between the concierge person and the guests that are visiting here as well. And we've set the same plexiglasses up in our lounge area between each of the sitting areas. So once again, you walk in with your mask, you're then sitting down with the guests that you're traveling with, so you can take it off. But you can still have wonderful conversation, and it's totally unobstructed from the guests that are sitting around you that you can still chat with and socialize with too. So it's been a really, really good experience for these sailings. The other thing that I'll mention that we didn't address is for the shore tours as we're going out. All of our guests are outfitted with an AudioVox headset. So this is something that they wear when they're out with the tour guide. Because they're wearing this headset, they don't have to be right next to the tour guide. They can be 40, 50 feet away and still listening to everything that's being shared with them and not missing anything while they're off taking some pictures. So again, that also helps with the social distancing. The last part that I'll mention, and we never really thought we'd have to talk about this, but it really works out to our benefit, I would say. We've actually constructed and designed all the ships that we have on the waters. And with that construction, we have individual units within each room. So there's a separate coil system and ventilation system for each room, each stateroom, each public area. So you're not going to find what you would find on maybe some other cruise ships or some of the larger ocean cruise ships where some of this air is being circulated throughout the ship in different areas. Our guests can feel safe about that also. We're not recirculating the air. It's fresh air in each of the rooms too. So that's a really big benefit. And we would love to welcome you on board sometime in the near future. This happens to be a look from everybody from the Alma Waterways team, just saying thank you and flashing our little hearts there to share some of that Alma love with you. But Zygmunt, that pretty much concludes our presentation. Is there anything else that you might want to add at this time?
I really appreciate everyone joining us here during this time and when it's very busy for you. And I look forward to meeting some of you. And I know that there's some people on here listening on which are part of the groups that are going to Europe and wine tasting and to Holland. And I'll be meeting with you later. And just want to thank you. Thank you, Richard, for taking your time to doing this. And remember, if you really have any questions about river cruising, call me. You have my number right here, and I will answer. And if I don't have an answer, I'll find it for you. There are a number of river cruises out here, and there are mass market cruises. We're advertised all over the place, and there are cruises like Ama, which is much more personal, fewer people on the ship, much higher level food, much higher level of care. And I've been on a number of these, and this is why I like Ama a lot, because my clients are really taken care of, and I have a number of VIP clients. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sigmund, and everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to welcoming you on board sometime very soon. Thank you.